Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Sonnet 18, William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of the fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. All right, Shakespearean sonnet. It is sonnet number 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? By William Shakespeare, very well known, very popular. So first let's go through the definitions. Temperate in a person, this would be even-tempered, showing self-restraint, not given to outbursts or extreme displays of emotion or behavior. If we're talking about climate or weather, then it is mild or moderate. Then we have darling, which is a term of endearment. Otherwise, the synonym beloved could be used. Some say beloved, some say beloved. Either one is right. Then we've got lease, which is to rent, something that is temporary. If you think of letting an office block or a set of offices, it's temporary. There is a contract involved, but it's not permanent. It's not like you own it. Then we've got complexion, so that is facial features, appearance, surface level. It's what you can see on the outside of the person. Then we have declines, so if something declines, it lessens. There is a gradual decrease. If you are talking about an empire, you can have the decline of an empire, so eventually it comes to the end. Maybe a more democratic way of ruling, parliament or a prime minister, something like that. It's not an emperor or empress that is calling the shots. If you think about a person's health, then you could say fading, or you could say that something natural is in decline, where there is generally a sense of decay, rotting. Something is dying, something is fading. For the most part, that's all I want to go over. Everything else is pretty much fairly straightforward. There are the words dimmed, untrimmed, oast, and grossed. All of those apostrophes that you see there are apostrophes of contraction. So in dimmed, there should be an E. In untrimmed, there should be an E. The apostrophe in oast, I think, could be for an N or an E, but N does make more sense, something that you own, because they are talking about possession. E for grossed, and the reason that's done is so that it falls within the meter and the rhyme and the rhythm of the poem. It happens a lot if you read the Shakespeare plays, grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. Depending on which one your school has chosen for you. A lot of those apostrophes make it seem very complicated, but it's actually just contraction. That's basically it. It's for the rhyme, it's for the meter, it's for the rhythm of what is being said. And just keep that in mind, because the plays are supposed to be acted out. They are supposed to be performed and said out loud, and sometimes I think that's why people struggle when just reading and trying to make sense of it non-verbally in their minds. So there are 3 quatrains. So in other words, there are 3 sort of sectioning of information, 3 sort of paragraphs, even though there is no break or a line skipped. And that's to not categorize but separate information. In a Petrarchan sonnet, you've got an octave and a sestet, 8 lines and 6 lines. But in a Shakespearean sonnet, you've got the 3 quatrains, so 3 sections made up of 4 lines, quattro meaning 4. Then you've got the rhyming couplet at the end, and that's with the rhyme scheme, the GG, that can be seen written over there. And that's sort of like a conclusion. So you can even look at a sonnet as a type of essay. You know, here is the point that the person is bringing across. There is the development, there is another part of it, and then there is a conclusion. Same works with the Petrarchan sonnet. You've got the octave, which is a problem or an issue or an idea put forward. Then you have a but or a yet, you have the turn, you have the volta, and then there is another side of the argument or something, you know, practical, and then it becomes something personal. It just depends on the content of the poem. So William Shakespeare wants to know, can he compare his lover, his woman, to a summer's day? And basically the answer is no. And the rest of the poem is to explain why. So number 1, a summer's day is inconsistent. The beauty, the loveliness of his woman is more temperate. It's more even. It might not be a great show of it, but it is constant. And that's the first difference that Shakespeare is drawing out, the extremes. So you've got rough winds, you've got summer's longevity that is too short. It says all too short a date in line 4. You've got these wonderful buds of May. Remember, this is northern hemisphere, so in May we would be going into winter, but on that side of the world, northern hemisphere, it's actually spring going into summer, so just keep that in mind. But there are rough winds. If the woman is more temperate, then it's possible that summer isn't. You can make that inference. The second section, second quatrain, is specifically about the sun and the concept of beauty. And sometimes summer is too hot. So too hot, the eye of heaven shines. The eye of heaven is personification. They are speaking about the sun. Again, personification, talking about his gold complexion, talking about his physical appearance. Again, it seems to be talking about a person. There is the eye, there is appearance, there is a face. So sometimes it's too hot or sometimes it's dimmed. Could be overcast, could be misty, could be foggy. That changes. And then it says, and every fair from fair sometime declines. So with the natural state of the world, things don't last forever. Things decay, things die, things, you know, aren't as great as they were in the beginning. Things age. So the fairness, the beauty declines. And what is the reason for that? Either by chance, something happening that spurs on or accelerates the process, or nature's changing course untrimmed. So without getting in the way of nature, the natural way of things is for things to decline. And I've written there on the side entropy. So everything consisting in its natural state left to its own devices without interference will actually eventually fade and die and decay. So that is entropy. So beauty is lost either by chance, something happening, or just being left to its own devices. And then there is a but. So there have been sort of 2 points made about why comparing the lady to a summer's day is a problem. And now we're looking at more specifically her. So what is it that she has that's not being lost? Why is she more temperate? Why is she more lovely? If summer is inconsistent, why is she consistent? And William Shakespeare starts with, "Your eternal summer will not fade." The summer of this woman, and this is metaphorically speaking, her beauty, her life, her energy, her everything is not going to fade. Nor will it lose possession of the fairness, the beauty that the person owns, nor can death brag about the person wandering in his shade as time continuous, when eternal lines to time thou growest. So not even death will be able to show on this woman. Not even the natural progression of time will affect this woman's beauty. She's not going to lose her loveliness, her fairness, what makes her beautiful. Colon at the end of line 12. The colon there is being used to indicate some kind of conclusion, some kind of final statement. So given an explanation, what is the answer? What is it that we've actually been explaining? Why can William Shakespeare say everything that he said? Because as long as men can breathe, as long as people can see, as long as this poem survives, this is what gives life to the woman. This is why her eternal summer will not fade. Because not only is she consistent in her beauty, but even through time and even in death, her beauty will still be around as long as this poem exists and people are able to read it. Because they read about her beauty in it and the many, many other sonnets that he wrote. And considering it's about 400 or 500 years later, I think that's a pretty good assumption that he made. So we are still reading the poetry, we are still hearing and reading about this beautiful woman that he loved and the beauty that was so wonderful to him. And in a sense, he's correct. We are still reading it. When this poem is lost and nobody remembers it anymore, then you can say her beauty has faded. But he believes as long as this exists, she will be beautiful. So that colon at the end, like I've written on the side, is the reason why. Okay, and that "shall I compare thee to a summer's day" is essentially a rhetorical question. I have put a little star there at the top saying questioning contemporary comparisons. So the poets and, the ancient Greek and Roman poets that spoke about love, and the Italian poets, if you think about Petrarch, there is this great exaggeration of a woman's beauty and trying to compare her beauty to something extravagant and exaggerated and not entirely real. And William Shakespeare is challenging this. He's basically saying, all right, you think that you're flattering her by saying that she is like a summer's day and it's all wonderful here and in the moment, but the summer's going to fade and winter is going to come and things are going to get dark and dreary and bleak and die and decay. Is that what you're saying about her love? And then he says, because for me, her love, her beauty, her fairness will never fade. So that is what is happening over there. If you look on the other side, there is a description of the personification and also the metaphor. It's an extended comparison between Shakespeare's beloved and summer. It's not just a once off, it goes on for a couple of lines and for a couple of different mentions. So you could argue that it is an extended metaphor.